Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Smothers Brothers.
Thank you. Thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to another evening of Prime Time Variety. We'd like to start the show off this evening by singing you a song about one of America's favorite heroes. His name was John Henry. John Henry was the greatest man that ever, most powerful man that ever swung a hammer on the railroad. In fact, he didn't.
He was a giant of a man.
He was a big man, but the fact is he didn't.
He was a giant of a man.
Thank you, Tom. He was a very strong man, but the fact is,
he was a giant of a man.
All right, John Henry was a giant of a man. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ballad of John Henry.
Drive on, John Henry, you big mother! When John Henry was a little baby, sitting on his daddy's knee, picked up my hammer, a little piece of steel, and said, "This hammer be the death of me, Lord, Lord, Lord. Hammer be the death of me, whoa, whoa, whoa." See, John Henry hailed from West Virginia, around Big Bend Tunnel, West Virginia. Folks around Big Bend Tunnel, West Virginia, believe that John Henry was born with a hammer in his hand. Lord, Lord. Of course, there are some people who believe they've seen a chicken with lips. See, John Henry got his first hammer from his daddy when John Henry was just a little fella, just about 5 years old, a little taller. Great God Almighty, you kind of know John Henry's going to be a steel driver because he grabbed that little hammer in his hand and started hammering on things. Whoop, 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 whoop. Bang on the pots and pans. Whoop, 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 whoop. Bang on the back stairs. Whoop, 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 whoop. Bang the little girl next door. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And a little baby on her door. A wise man once said that when a child first discovers a hammer, he said when a child first discovers a hammer, the whole world becomes a nail. And he nailed this little girl next door. Well, John Henry started growing in size and stature. So did his hammer. He went around town hammering on things. It was known as a hammering fool. People say, "Watch out, here comes John Henry, the hammering fool." When he was 15 years old, it's the truth. When he was 15 years old, his daddy, Hank Henry, said, "John Henry, it's about time you left town and started working on the railroads." Sure enough, at 15 years old, John Henry started swinging steel from the hips on down, the transcontinental railroad, his hammers flashing fire. People said, "Woo-wee, look at John Henry. Could outdrive 10 men. Well, one day, so the story goes, the captain, head of all the railroad workers, came up to John Henry and said, "John Henry, we're going to bring a steam drill around. Automatic steel driver. Going to drive steel faster than any man ever has." Well, John Henry kind of laughed because he never heard of a machine that could work faster than a man. Well, they arranged a race between John Henry and the steam drill that very next week. And every railroad man in the region was out there because they knowed if John Henry lost that race, they were out of a job. Well, that steam drill was standing over the big shiny smokestack sticking up in the air, and all the men were standing around looking at it. And the captain looked over that steam drill, kind of laughed to himself, thinking, "Man's going to race a machine." Kind of laughed, and he looked around because it was starting time. He looked around the crowd for John Henry, and he couldn't find him. And then he saw him stand way off by himself, muscles rippling in the sun, sweat running off in rivulets. The captain, he looked back at that steam drill, and he looked over at John Henry. He said, "Hey, you ready, boy? I say, you ready, boy?" But John Henry, he don't say nothing. I swear you could hear a pin drop that day. He didn't say nothing, just spit on his hands, picked up those 2 9-pound hammers, walked slowly over to the starting line, never once looked at that steam drill. Captain, he pulled out a starting pistol, pointed in the air, shot it off, and started one of the greatest races in history. And it's still going on today, my friends, and we're all in it. Man against machine. Whoop-ha! Whoop! 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 not going to bore you with the details of race. John Henry lost that race. They laid down his hammer and he died. Lord, Lord. Some folks believe that John Henry died of a broken heart. Others say he died of a broken hammer. But be that as it may, around Big Bend Tunnel in West Virginia, there's a lot of little kids running around. The name of John Henry. And they buried him. They buried him right next to the right-of-way. A little to the left of the right-of-way. But they buried him right away. And every locomotive come on by where there's a monument still there, they tip their hats in respect as they drive the locomotives on past and they say, there lies a steel driving man, Lord, Lord. There lies a steel driving man. Oh, John Henry was steel driving man. Watch out. Whoop, 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 whoop.